We kick things off with Baker Dill, a brooding fisherman who seems to live a quiet life in a remote tropical town. He spends his days taking tourists out on his boat, Serenity, hoping for his one true obsession, catching an elusive giant tuna he calls Justice. It's clear early on that Baker is intense, a bit of a loner, and utterly consumed by this fish. On this particular day, Baker is out at sea with two tourists, but things don't go well. They're seasick, uninterested, and clearly not cut out for fishing. But Baker doesn't care about their complaints. He's laser-focused on justice. When the giant tuna finally bites, Baker gets locked in a battle of wills with the fish, but it ultimately escapes. He's left frustrated while his clients are just relieved to head back to shore. Back in town, we get to know a little more about Baker's world. He lives a quiet, isolated life, and gets by taking tourists fishing, drinking at the local bar, and occasionally visiting a woman named Constance for companionship. The bartender, Duke, is one of the few people Baker talks to, and it's clear there's a mutual respect between them. But even Duke notices Baker's growing obsession with the tuna and tries to warn him that he's losing grip on reality. Then, a strange man in a suit starts showing up. He always seems to just miss Baker and is clearly looking for him. This adds a bit of mystery. Who is this guy, and what does he want? One night, Baker receives a visit from Karen, his ex-wife, who appears out of nowhere like a ghost from the past. She's elegant, haunted, and desperate. She drops a bombshell. Her current husband, Frank, is abusive and dangerous, not just to her, but also to their son, Patrick. Karen begs Baker to take Frank out on a fishing trip, and then kill him. At first, Baker is stunned and refuses. Murder isn't something he's willing to consider, no matter how terrible Frank is. But Karen pleads with him, reminding him that Patrick needs his father back, not the monster Frank has become. As Baker wrestles with this impossible decision, we learn more about his past. He used to be a soldier, and the scars of war still linger. We also discover that he shares a deep bond with Patrick, the son he hasn't seen in years. Patrick, it turns out, is a tech genius who spends his time building games on his computer, and it's through his eyes that we begin to see a deeper layer to this story. Meanwhile, the mystery man in the suit finally catches up with Baker. He introduces himself as Reed Miller, a representative from a company called Fontaine. He offers Baker a fancy new fishing tool called a fish finder, supposedly designed to help him catch Justice. But their interaction is strange and unsettling. Reed talks in cryptic phrases and keeps hinting that there are rules Baker must follow. It's weird, and Baker is clearly thrown off by it. As Baker prepares for another trip with tourists, Karen returns, this time bringing Frank with her. Frank is loud, obnoxious, and cruel. He insults everyone around him, drinks non-stop, and treats Karen like garbage. When Baker meets him, the tension is palpable. Frank even offers to pay Baker $10 million to take him fishing, an obvious trap cloaked as a bribe. Later that night, Baker dreams of Patrick. In the dream, Patrick encourages him to kill Frank, saying that it's the only way they'll ever be together. This adds more fuel to Baker's internal conflict. Is he really considering murder? Or is something deeper going on here? The next morning, Baker, Frank, and Duke set off for a fishing trip. Frank is already drunk and obnoxious, making lewd comments and insulting Duke. Baker can barely hide his disgust. While they fish, Baker toys with the idea of throwing Frank overboard, but he holds back, at least for now. Back on land, Reed Miller shows up again and confronts Baker. This time, things get even weirder. Reed explains that Baker's world isn't real. It's a computer simulation, a game. And Patrick, his son, is the one who created it. Baker isn't just a fisherman, he's a character inside Patrick's game. Reed tells Baker that he was never supposed to kill anyone, and doing so would break the rules of the simulation. But Baker is shaken and confused. He starts to question everything, his memories, his identity, even his sense of free will. As Baker struggles with this revelation, Karen confronts him again, desperate and terrified. She shows him bruises, tells him that Patrick is living in constant fear, and pleads with him one last time to do something. It's a turning point for Baker. Whether or not the world is real, he decides that protecting his son is more important than following any so-called rules. Baker sets sail with Frank again, this time alone. Frank, drunk and clueless, keeps taunting him. When the moment comes, Baker tells Frank to help with the fishing line. Justice, the tuna, is hooked again, and Baker uses the moment to lure Frank to the edge of the boat. Frank leans over, and in one swift move, Baker grabs him and throws him overboard. Frank struggles, screaming, but eventually Justice pulls him under. It's done. Suddenly, the world around Baker begins to glitch. The simulation starts breaking down. We're pulled back to the real world, where Patrick is sitting at his computer, staring blankly. We now understand the truth. Patrick created this world as a coping mechanism, a way to deal with the trauma of living with an abusive stepfather. In the game, he gave his father, Baker, a second chance to save him, even if it was just in code. In the final moments, Patrick gathers the courage to pick up the phone and call the police, reporting the abuse. It's a small but powerful act of bravery, and inside the simulation, Baker stands at peace, reunited with Patrick. They embrace on the dock, father and son together at last, not in reality, but in the only world Patrick could control.